Hey everybody, it's Robot here from Vespa Motorsport, dealership here in San Diego, California. What am I with here? Is this a Primavera? Nope, it's not just any Primavera. This is the all-new 2020 Electtrica. And the way you spell that is E-L-E-T-T-R-I-C-A, Electtrica. This is Vespa's first electric Vespa, and I want to go over all the features on it. But let's get right to the point. Everybody asks, how fast does it go? Let's get out on the road. So let me take it on a test ride. I'll show you what it's all about. And following the test ride, I'll go over all the features and quirks and how everything works on it.
All right, let's get right to this. Let's see what this thing's all about. So turn it on. Definitely want the power mode. And as you can see in the daytime, the screen runs at a brighter and white background versus indoors or darker, it will go to a darker. It has an automatic photo cell that does that for you. All right, hold the map button until it's powered up. Now we're ready to go. Just twist the grip, just like any other twist and go scooter, fully automatic. Very, very quiet. You can see the bar graph on this side kind of shows how much power you're using, deaccelerating versus giving it gas. The handling is very effortless on this bike, very solid feeling scooter, just like the gas Primavera and Sprint. So very smooth, very quiet. You can hear the electric motor drive whine. I think it's more or less the gears on it that whines a little bit, but still much quieter than anything gasoline powered. Acceleration similar to a gas powered 50. Going up a pretty steep grade. We're doing about 18 miles an hour. In my experience, I find the really steep hills, it excels over a gas-powered 50cc. On flat ground, the initial acceleration is very good and brisk because of all the torque from the electric drive. But you can see I'm full throttle. It's in the red, kind of using all the power. We're going up grades, 20 miles an hour. Certainly couldn't ride a bicycle this fast up. Even an electric assist bicycle, I would say I could go maybe 12 or 15 miles an hour up this. There's a pretty steep hill here. Seems to pull the hills really nice. And that's definitely a good feature of the electric drive. One thing to be said about the 31 mile an hour limit in the power mode, that's as fast as it will accelerate to. Of course, you could coast it faster down a hill. Maybe we'll check that out. But the reason they do that is it puts it in a classification in many markets around the world and also the United States. Every state has different rules for the lower speed scooters, and many states you can ride this with just a regular driver's license. Here in California, unfortunately having a restricted vehicle doesn't do you any good because you need the full M1 motorcycle license to ride any 50cc or electric scooter here. But gets up to the top speed pretty easy. You can see I'm using very little electricity once it's holding about 20 miles an hour, 25. But if I give it all the way, he kind of drops into the power zone. And there you go. That's the top speed, 31 miles an hour, 50 kilometers. And you can hear the motor kind of whines a little more when you get on the brakes. That's the resistance of the electric drive putting regenerative braking in. You see how you can hear the note change. I don't know if that comes through the microphone very well, but it does do that. Definitely a nice, easy scooter to ride in tight cities. Definitely don't want to get it out on the faster roads. You know, no problem getting up to the top speed every time as long as it's flat ground. But going up the hills, I would say it's better than many gas-powered 50s. On flat level ground, many of the unrestricted 50s can go well over 35 miles an hour. So even the unrestricted Primavera and Sprint 50 with a new fuel-injected 3-valve engine. Those have a much higher top speed. Not a much higher top speed, but a higher top speed than this scooter. So let's see how this does in the eco mode. The claim range is about 60 miles in the eco mode. We'll go ahead and activate it. And you could definitely tell it's not too bad off the line, but it's not quite as brisk off the line. And there you go. That's all you got. 22 miles an hour hits the limit in the eco mode. Yeah, I definitely want the power mode back. That's just my style. And with San Diego roads that are pretty wide open for a city, here I'm up in Mission Hills where everything's wide open. The roads are straight. You could definitely go much faster than 22 miles an hour. But obviously the range is going to be a lot better. The wind resistance, everything, at the higher speeds really starts dragging down. Electric vehicles are a lot more sensitive to that. Deacceleration's about the same in the eco mode. And there you go. That's about all the eco mode I want for today. It's definitely a nice riding scooter. As for value, I don't know. It's up to you. $74.99 for 30 miles an hour. I don't know. Because people spend $10,000 on bicycle frames. So maybe it works for you. There's cheap cars, there's $200,000 cars, so it's all relative. If you want the highest quality kind of in-town scooter, I would say this is the ticket right here. But otherwise, if you're looking to do long distance or need to go higher speed, I think the gas scooters are still a better solution. Lots more scooters from other manufacturers coming out in this electric category, but this is Vespa's first attempt. And of course, I wish they took a note after Tesla and came out with something that was like class leading in acceleration and speed. And I know the resources are very the engineer something to that effect is quite a bit. To have something that goes the same speed, 80 miles an hour, like a GTS, in the same classic looking Vespa modern body or whatever, kind of oxymoron, classic modern body. But I think in a few years this product may mature to that point where there'll be a much higher speed version with a battery life that works with it. Battery technology has got a long ways to go. Obviously for something that goes higher speed and longer distance, look at the other electric motorcycles out there, may work better for you. But doesn't get any simpler to ride this thing. Super easy going to ride, very relaxed, and the acceleration's perfectly adequate for these kind of roads in a city or in a town. But getting out on a high-speed road, that may be kind of pushing it. So San Diego's full of hills. You can see the regeneration going down the hill, indicated by the power kind of in the negative. It's maximum regeneration. But I wanted to see how fast this thing can go, coasting down one of the many steep hills in San Diego. So here we are on Bachman Street. Let's just see what it does. I think there's a stop sign coming up over here. Accelerates pretty fast when you're going downhill up to the max, but let's see what it does. Alright. Ducking and tucking. Let's see. Kind of just limits. And if you give it a little gas, it kind of, I don't know, it just kind of holds the speed. I did go down a steeper hill. The fastest I've seen on it is 36 miles an hour. I guess this hill's just not quite steep enough, but getting a tiny bit more out of it over the 31 going down a hill. You know, using no electricity, but there you go, 35 miles an hour. So that's about as fast as you'll ever get this thing going. So let's see how it goes up the hills here. So whatever this is, I don't know, 6% grade. That's pretty dang good for if you're comparing it to a 50. Powers up these hills without problems. 26, I almost think it might even hit the top speed uphill. There you go, about 27. This is about the steepest part of the hill. Maybe if I ducked, I could get another mile an hour out of it. But I don't think you're gonna be holding up traffic on a little road like this. Don't want to be going on some mountain windy road though with a bike like this. So let's see how it handles a curvy road. A lot of the residential streets here in San Diego are quite curvy with all the hills. This road's pretty chopped up. Scooter's handling it pretty nice. One thing about the Vespas, I've always loved the solid feeling that you get with the monocoque steel frame versus the tubular steel frame that's found on most other scooters. Takes the turns no problem. Right at the top speed. And I would say the braking's more than adequate for an emergency panic stop on the scooter. Yeah, the brakes on the 150s and 300s are a larger brake caliper, so they're a little stronger. And we can just coast right down this road. Let's see what it does. Automatically is regenning some of the power. Now it's full regen now that I'm on the brakes. It's a pretty steep hill. I think that's about 10 or 12%. All right, we're back to the shop. Time to talk about the bike and all the quirks and features. Even left the door open for me.
So let's quickly talk about the range. So far, I start out with a full charge. My odometer's at 15 miles and my charge level is at 73%. The rated range for this scooter is 60 miles in the eco mode. I've only left it in eco mode for maybe a mile or two. So it leads me to believe this thing should easily be able to do 50 miles, no problem, in the power mode. You know, with spirited riding, stop and go, or full throttle, keeping it at 31 miles an hour. So, okay, now I'm back from the test ride. Hope that gives you some insight about the capabilities of the scooter. Let's go on to how the scooter is equipped and trimmed. And as I always do, I'll start from the front and move to the back. So starting with the wheel, it's got the same style wheel that's found on the new 2018 and later Primavera. It's a 12-inch wheel, so it's going up from the original Primavera size wheel. It's got the disc brakes up front. And you got to keep in mind there is no ABS on this model. Not really needed in my opinion, as it's a lower speed scooter. It's all the same suspension and braking components that you'd find on the Primavera or Sprint 50cc. One thing that's also unique, they have the blue trim on the wheel along with all the leg shield trim and the chevrons that are in this very nice looking flat blue color. It looks really sharp. In other markets, they also have, I think, green and yellow, if I recall. For the American market, they just only have the blue. And blue is kind of a good color that symbolizes electricity. Works very well. Kind of differentiates this scooter from the rest of the Primavera and Sprint line. And moving on up, it's got pretty much a similar handlebar covers to the Primavera Sport. So it's got the LED headlight that's found on all the new 2020s. Looks very good and it functions good to illuminate the road. The chrome trim around the headlight. And all the controls are pretty much the same with the exception of the mode in the map switch. Doesn't have a start switch, does have a kill switch, an emergency stop switch, turn signals, horn, high and low beam, which are just typically found on any other Vespa. You see the screen booting up, gives you the little intro screen, comes up right away. You can see up here power flashes, and this button right here is your kill switch. Indicates you can't use the scooter. Say if for some reason you just wanted to shut it down, I think it's just federally mandated that you have this switch. So we'll leave that on the run position. And the map switch cycles through 3 different settings. First of all, you got power, which allows for acceleration up to 31 miles an hour or 50 kilometers an hour. And it also has a more aggressive acceleration curve. Reverse has a low speed reverse. Kind of silly, but I'll show you how that works.
So why the reverse mode? I think it's just there because it could do it. Super easy. You can't reverse a gas motor without gears. With the electric motor, it's just some software that reverses the controller. So let's see what it is. I'm pointed downhill where the bike kind of wants to coast on its own. I want to back it up and, and back it right up to the curb. Yeah, this is maybe the only solution I'd see for the reverse mode. Let's see what it does. Okay, it does this pretty annoying beeping. And it's very low speed, but see, I can walk it back up and back it up to the curb and shut the bike off. Get rid of that annoying beep.
Eco mode, it will allow for the longest battery life, I think claimed up to 60 miles or 100 kilometers of range in Eco. The scooter's limited to about 22 miles an hour, about 30 kilometers an hour, and it has a softer acceleration curve. Obviously, most people don't really care about the range. No one's going on a 50-mile commute or tour with this scooter. They may do a commute that may be as long as 15 kilometers or 10 miles. I can see that would be realistic for this scooter. Or if you have a much shorter commute, obviously maybe a few miles, you can get a whole week's worth of a battery out of this scooter, plug it in once a week. And let me show you how to get this scooter started. So it doesn't do anything initially. So once you select the mode, by default, it will pick the mode that was last in, whether it's Eco or Power. I don't think it will pick reverse again. So you got the scooter booted up, and then you hold the map switch until it says ready right there. And you can hear the hum of the electric motor. Now it's ready to accelerate. And I'll do a separate video of all the various modes of this display. The instruments has all the basics, like how much power is being delivered to the motor, how much regeneration, a battery life, how much remaining battery life, speed, of course, odometer, outside temperature, time, etc., etc. Again, we'll do a separate video on all the different functions of the dash. Moving on to the practical functions of the scooter. Like any Vespa, it's got a glove box, or modern Vespa that is. So you got the key, has both a remote key fob to pop your seat or flash the lights. The key comes out in the 12 o'clock position. If you turn it to about the 1 o'clock position, you can push it in and open up your glove box. And underneath here, you can find a USB jack. To charge your phone, it will charge at the lower rate up to 1 amp, which is enough to maintain or charge up a phone after a few hours to bring a dead phone all the way back up, not the higher speed rate. This side is pretty useless, fuse block, that's about it. You can put some small items on that side, hence the glove box. Maybe a pair of gloves would fit perfect. Also in this mode, when the key's at the 1 o'clock position, you could push this release button and it opens the seat with an electronic actuator. And we'll come back to the seat. Just move on through the rest of the positions. If you turn it all the way on, that's ignition on. If you turn the steering all the way to your left, turn the key all the way to the 9 o'clock position and the counterclockwise it will lock the scooter down. You can no longer open the glove box, the seat, and now the scooter's locked down. But you can use the remote fob to pop the seat. You can hear the actuator right there. Also flash the lights if you want to. They call that the bike finder feature. I guess if you're parked in a sea of other scooters, you could light up your bike. And onto the floorboard, just like any other Primavera, it's got the signature Vespa look with the 3 strips on each side. Very comfortable to ride. In the center, there's an auxiliary battery. There is a 12-volt battery that's in there. I have no idea how long it lasts, but it's a buffer because it, between the high voltage battery, which I think is about 60 volts on this, and the standard systems such as the turn signals, the horn, they're all 12 volts. They still have a battery, and I don't think it drains much off the battery. It's more or less like a buffer, so I assume that battery will last quite a long time. But over prolonged storage, I would probably recommend disconnecting that battery. For instance, leaving it for 6 months, and there's probably leave the lithium batteries at a 70% charge, which is usually recommended. Moving on back, there's a pair of passenger pegs. Unlike many other 50s, this scooter is equipped to ride 2 up, and it's safe to say it does have enough torque. The motor's pretty torquey, and it should pull just fine and hit the top speed. No problem with 2 up. And on to the electric drive right here. This motor can put up to 4 kilowatts to the ground. I think that's the peak output. So 4,000 watts, comes around 3.5, 4 horsepower if you convert it to American horsepower. I think the normal maximum output is 3.5 kilowatts. The whole entire motor is just encased in this hub. Underneath here is just a steel swing arm. Right here you see some of the coverings for the battery and also the battery management system, the BMS, and the motor control system that controls the power to the motor. The motor is a permanent magnet 3-phase motor, which is pretty typical for other electric scooters, cars, very common system, very efficient, and you can have a compact small motor that doesn't run warm and is very efficient in a small size. There's also a gear reduction in here. There's the dipstick for the gearbox oil. There's an interval that this needs to be changed, much like a first service. Otherwise, I think after you change it initially, I haven't looked at the service schedule for this scooter yet. I think it lasts quite a long time. Onto the rear wheel, a 12-inch wheel, mechanical drum brake. Also, when you act on the brakes, it does have a regenerative braking. So if you trip the brake switches, you'll feel the scooter drag down and use the regenerative brakes. There's 2 different levels that can be set. One that's more aggressive, that slows the scooter down a little faster than a normal gasoline-powered scooter, or a lower decel feature that would be more like have a similar feel to a gasoline-powered scooter, the Mode 1. Mode 2 is what I would recommend. Obviously, if you're going down a steep hill and letting the scooter coast and dragging the brakes a little bit, it's going to recoup some of that charge and go back in the battery. Much like any electric car, would have a function. This being an American market model, it's got the pod turn signals all the way around. LED taillight, looks pretty sharp. The rear fender, and my favorite visual appearance on the whole bike is the lack of a muffler. The wheel looks really, really cool, just out in the open without a muffler back there. I think it's quite a nice look. And they also have a little hubcap that you could actually retrofit to the gas-powered ones, but usually don't see the center nut because there's a muffler in the way on the gasoline-powered version of the Primavera. It's got a standard center stand. Very easy to put up on the stand. The leverage point has been set up very good. So you wheel it off, and then you could just roll it right back up onto it. With the easy motion, once you get the hang of it, if you're unfamiliar with that style stand, pretty easy to get used to. It needs very little effort once you get the right pivot point to get it up on the stand. I'd always recommend using the center stand on a scooter. a little safer. The scooter is going to be more stable than a side stand. And if you do look underneath here, they do have all the mounting points for the accessory side stand. That's for the Primavera and Sprint. So you can purchase the accessory side stand. I have the part number up on the screen for that side stand kit. If you do want a kickstand reminiscent of a motorcycle kickstand or bicycle kickstand, works pretty much the same. The only color that this scooter comes in is this silver. It's a different silver than they've used before. The original prototypes, they had a very chrome, kind of flashy silver. From what I understand, they couldn't get the paint production right for that, so they toned it down. It's a little more conservative of a silver, but definitely with the blue trim on the seat and around the leg shields and in the front, kind of sets it apart from the standard gas scooter. Tires that are on there are the Pirelli Angels. They're a high quality, long lasting tire. In the past, I've seen Michelin City Grips and Sava tires. It's a welcome addition that they've changed over to the Pirelli Angels. Been a very, very popular selling tire for us as a replacement tire. Let's pop the seat and see what we can find underneath. So pop the seat. You've got a toolkit. And let's see what's in there. I haven't even looked at it. Not very packed. There's no spark plug to change on this. And all you get is the shock adjustment tool. So you can adjust the preload of the shock in 4 different positions and a fuse puller. Pretty exciting. That's all you get. And the underseat bucket can accommodate some full-size helmets. Definitely can accommodate any 3/4 or half shell helmet without any issue. Included with the bike, you get a USB flash drive that lights up with the Vespa. There's been Vespa that's been laser etched into the acrylic. I haven't removed the protective film on there, but it lights up really nice from what I understand. I don't know if there's any content. I haven't plugged it in. This is a bike we're selling, so I don't really want to mess with it. Belong to a customer. Get the owner's manual. It's very, very thick because there's quite a few functions with the dashboard and the 2-year standard warranty along with a master key. Like any other Vespa, this has got immobilizer coated keys. So if you hotwire it, you're not going to go anywhere with the scooter. But you do need to buy the specific keys and need that red master key to program additional keys, or we could handle cloning your original blue key to make additional blue keys for you as well, which are the service keys. The blue key is the key we'd recommend using. All right, let's pull out and see where the magic is. So the US model Electricas come with the double battery, the larger battery setup. The ones I saw at the ICMA show only had a single battery. And you can look at that old video that I had up, for this scooter, and it shows there was more space under here, underneath the bucket. VIN numbers right here. Not that that's all that important, but you can see they're heavily encased. They're lithium-ion batteries under here. I did notice there's a little cooling fan underneath the body that helps cool the battery management system. So if the ambient temperature is really high, I assume there's some software that kicks that fan on. So how do you charge it? Well, normally there'd be a fuel cap right here. And if it was a dirty 2-stroke, there'd be an oil reservoir cap right there. But this doesn't have that. You turn that cap, it just locks right in. And for the US standard, it's got the 110 outlet. From what I understand, this charges at a slower rate versus the European 220 volt system. I have no idea if you could just hack this plug off and put a 220 right into it. Don't take my word for it, but I definitely will check to see if the battery management system can handle 220, if it's universal between Europe and the US. But it pretty much, I would say if it's completely dead, it's an overnight charge on 110. I think about 8 or 10 hours, if I recall. I haven't charged one all the way from dead because I haven't drained this battery all the way down. Came to us with about 80% charge, only needed, a few hours to bring it up. And another feature, you're wondering, well, what do you do with this cord if you had to park it outside or something, and you don't want to leave your seat open? So the way it works is you put that cap down, and there's a little notch in the seat. And now you can leave it plugged in and lock the scooter down and have it plugged in charging. Or if you're in a garage, you can leave the seat open through the night. It's not going to hurt anything. So, but I do like the cord. It's pretty cool. Many other electric scooters, they just use like the IDC style cord, which is like what you find on a desktop computer. You know, it's nice as a standard cord, but having the integrated cord is pretty nice with the coil. It's a very clean, elegant solution. This cap needs to be in place before you can ride. You can see there's a micro switch in there, that little switch. So don't lose the cap. Or you can certainly get it as a replacement part if you do lose it. But the cap needs to be in place to use the scooter. Along with it's got the electronics. The software will not allow you to ride off with the plug-in. Haven't tested that feature, but that's pretty typical of electric cars. And other electric scooters, you can't really operate the electric engine until it's unplugged. So that pretty much summarizes all the features with the new 2020 Vespa Elettrica. Hope you like it. You know, it's quite an expensive scooter, $7,500 here in the United States. You can almost buy a GTS 300, but maybe the GTS 300 doesn't, you know, you're not going cross country. Maybe you're using this in a tight urban setting. This might be the perfect scooter for you. Here in San Diego, there's lots of long expanses in the city, and it would work probably very well downtown where you never need to go faster than 30 miles an hour. But if you wanted to go across town or to the suburbs, it might be pretty limiting. So that pretty much summarizes my thoughts and all the features and my review of the Vespa Elettrica. I'm quite a fan of it, even though it's not something that would suit my needs. I tend to like the higher speed stuff. I love electric vehicles. I love Teslas. I like motorcycles. I like electric bikes. I'm just a nerdy kind of person, like that kind of electric stuff. Definitely not for everybody, but I feel this will appeal to a small audience of electric loving vehicle lovers, whatever you want to call it, in a tight urban setting that need to go short distances. All right, so we'll see you next time. The Electtrica says bye-bye, and you could check us out on VespaMotorsport.com for our dealership. If you're looking for parts and accessories, even for this scooter, specific accessories such as the top case, the rear rack, or the side stand, we have them in stock. Find them on ScooterWest.com or give us a call, 619-280-1718, whether you want to buy the scooter or want to order some accessories for it. We can help you out. But we got one on hand, and I was very eager and excited to do a full review of this bike since the initial review at the ICMA show in Italy several months ago. Right now I'm doing this review in May 2019, but check us out. Subscribe to our channel if this is the first time you're coming across it. We have well over 400 videos, all related to Vespa, both modern Vespas and vintage Vespas. You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook, Vespa Motorsport. Follow me, Robot Vespa. Till next time, Robot here, electrify the world.